So, if you could just introduce yourself and just let us know how you got into fly fishing, fly tying, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, my name's Stevie Munn. I'm from Northern Ireland, County Antrim, and I started fly fishing when I was 6 years of age. My father got me into it. There was a lot of troubles in Belfast when I was growing up as a kid, and to keep me off the streets, he brought me into fly fishing, and that's basically how I got into it. I've been doing it most of my life, and that's my job. I've been working in fly fishing now for 25 years.
Right. So, what is the thing that sort of made you stick to fly fishing? You know, the thing that makes that.
It's just a beautiful sport. It's just something I really love. I love being outside. I love doing shows also, and the camaraderie of guys from all over the world. I just love the sport. I just love it.
So, what's your first sort of good memory from fly fishing? The thing that sort of
the first good memory I have of fly fishing is learning to dry fly fish, and I was learning to fly fish on a local river in County Antrim called the 6 Mile Water, and the first fish I caught on a dry fly, that was the one I remember the most. And I was 6 years of age, and the trout came up and eat this fly that I had tied myself, and I fell over backwards, and I was only a kid, and I always remember that trout, my very first trout.
Brilliant. So what's your favourite type of water to fish?
I like rivers. I also fish big lakes, big lochs, but I love rivers. I love being on rivers, wild rivers, and fishing for salmon or sea trout or brown trout. I just love rivers,
What's your fondest memory?
I've lots of fond memories, and one of my best memories was when I was down fishing in Argentina. I met the president of Argentina, and I went fishing down there and caught a 25-pound sea trout. And I'll never forget that sea trout. Was just a huge thing, just to see this wild creature in my hands. It was great. So that's probably one of the best.
So, what's your biggest fish? Everyone wants to know, what's your biggest fish?
Well, my biggest fish wasn't actually on a fly. It was a sturgeon, and I caught it in BC in Canada. I host trips to Canada, and my biggest fish was actually a sturgeon, which was about 8.5 foot long.
Wow.
So that was my biggest fish, but it wasn't on a fly. My biggest fish on a fly was that sea trout. No, I'll tell a lie. My biggest fish on a fly was a king salmon, which was 60 pounds. So it was a big fish. 4 pounds off the world record. So a big fish.
Yeah. So, just talking a bit more about fly tying.
Yeah.
What's your favourite style or favourite fly to tie?
I like tying all sorts of flies. I tie all sorts of classic salmon flies, Irish loch flies. But I love tying sea trout flies. I love tying dolligan flies. We have a trout called the dolligan from Northern Ireland, which lives in the loch in Loch Ness, and it runs the rivers to spawn. And I like tying them flies, really fast flies, because I know I'm going to lose them soon on the bottom. I like tying fast fishing flies. They're pretty, but they catch fish. That's my one.
That's the goal of the play at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What type of material do you prefer? So is there anything?
I use all materials. I like natural materials. I like fur and feather, but I also use some synthetics. My flies are basically traditional patterns, but jinked up with modern materials. So I'll use fur and feather, but I'll also put in some fits or some twinkle. I like a bit of flash in my flies too. So they're just basically traditional type flies, but they're sort of tarted up a bit.
Right. Okay. Do you use any particular brands of hooks, or is there any hooks that you prefer?
Well, I'm sponsored by Partridge, so I tie on Partridge hooks. So that's what I have to say.
So I take it then you tie on a lot of different international fairs and that sort of thing?
I've tied in South America. I've tied in England, Scotland, all over Ireland. I've been tying flies at shows now for around 20 years. So,
is there anything about the British fair that you particularly?
Well, British Fair was probably the second fair. This is my 11th year in the British Fair, and it was the first big fair I tied at was a Dutch Fly Fair, and then I came and tied at the British Fly Fair. And I know the people that organise the show. I know most of the guys that come to the show, and I just love this show because it's very, very sociable, and everybody here is my friends, and that's one of the reasons why I come.
Right. So, is there any fly ties that particularly given you inspiration, or that you know your favourite?
There's a lot of great fly tyres at this show. There's a lot of great fly tyres all over the world. I've great admiration for a lot of tyres. Paul Little's a great tyre. He's like fantastic tyre. Skilly Christensen, Icelandic friend of mine sitting over there, he's a great tyre. There's some great tyres. In fact, most of the guys tying are great tyres. And the thing I like about fly tying is, although I've been tying most of my life, you're always picking up stuff. You'll always learn stuff. I learned stuff today, and I've been tying professionally for 25 years, and I learned stuff today. So, you know, I'm not the greatest fly tyer, and everybody should be learning, you know. And some of the guys are just wonderful tyres.
Yeah, it seems to be the main theme from speaking to the tyres is the fact that they can sort of bounce ideas off each other and sort of develop.
You're always learning. You're never going to learn everything in fly tying. If you lived your 500 and fishing and fly tying, you're never going to know it all. It's always learning, and that's one of the things which I personally like about it, because you're just always learning and you're always growing. You'll never know it all. You know, the person that says he knows it all is lying.
That's it. Yeah. So just a final question then, for people that haven't got into fly fishing, what would you say to them as, you know?
I would say get into the sport, you know, just get into the sport of fly fishing. If you get into it, it'll benefit your life. It makes you a great person. It's just a thing to do. It's just, you know, anybody that gets into fly fishing and loves it, it's never going away from it. They're just always going to stay in fly fishing, and that's it.
Brilliant. Okay.
Thank you
very much.
Cheers.